I want to talk to you for a few minutes about some of my favorite people, which is young teens or preteens. And I've spent 40 years working with this age group. They're just amazing, and they have so much potential. They're still wet cement, right? There's still so much undetermined about their lives. And really, one of the things I found to be so critical is that if we're going to be effective with this age group, we have to understand that the young teen years, about 11 to 14 years old, are all about change. In fact, 5 areas of change that are critical for us to understand. First of all, physical change. That one's kind of obvious. They go from being little kids to almost young adults in the span of just a few years, and their bodies are changing so dramatically. It's really critical that we help normalize this experience with them, because it can be one that's kind of exciting, but also full of anxiety and even fear. The second area of change is one that you might not be aware of, and it's so critical for ministry with this age group, and that's cognitive or intellectual change. In short, it's the onset of abstract thinking, which I think of as God's puberty gift. It's this new ability to think abstractly that comes with the onset of puberty. And abstract thinking allows for speculation, which is wrestling with what if and why questions. And it also enables third-person perspective, which is being able to see myself or consider myself from somebody else's point of view, or consider somebody else from a third-person point of view, or even to consider an idea from someone else's point of view. And those two new thinking abilities, speculation and third-person perspective, they completely reorganize the world and the thinking and everything else about the world of a young teen. The challenge is, it's like this brand new muscle they've been given, and it's wimpy and flabby, and they haven't used it. So they have the capacity, but they won't often naturally go there on their own without help from us. So we need to come alongside them and help them exercise their speculation muscle. The other 3 areas of change all flow directly out of that onset of abstract thinking. Emotional changes, boy, young teens are all over the place in their emotions, and it's because emotional understanding requires abstract thinking. And so it's like they've gone from a junior set of emotional capacities to an adult set, and it's foreign territory to them, and it takes a number of years for them to understand their emotions. And then there's relational change, and the relational change is again brought on by this third-person perspective. You can imagine if you and I didn't have the ability to consider each other from each other's perspective, it would dramatically change what our relationship would be like. And so young teens start to go through different ways of forming friends, and they're exploring what that means and understanding themselves in new ways. They're starting to pull away from their parents a little bit more. All of that is good and part of God's intentional and beautiful and loving design. The 5th area of change is spiritual change, and young teens start to ask all kinds of deeper questions. They start to experience and express doubts and questions. And listen, folks, this is good. It's beautiful. It feels a little scary and risky at times, but it's all part of God's design. And them wrestling with spiritual questions, even experiencing doubts, it's not only normal, it's good. It's part of God's design, and we need to walk alongside them rather than guilt them or shame them for experiencing doubts. This is not helpful. Instead, the helpful perspective is to walk alongside them and help them explore and find better truth to replace the things that were not good enough. Just a couple kind of axioms for you. Young teens are not little adults or big children. They're in transition. And we need to see them as people, humans, God's creation experiencing a very unique stage of life. Not treat them like they're little adults, not treat them like they're big children, but in this unique overlapping stage where there's still aspects of childhood and aspects of a kind of a new adulthood or almost adulthood that's coming up within them. Another axiom, young teens want to be treated like adults, but they want to have the opportunity to act like children. If that was you or me, we would call it hypocrisy, but in them, this is a natural developmental reality. At a perspective note, I want to remind you that this is positive. We might see it as a negative, but it's all part of God's design and therefore must be positive. It must be a good thing. Okay, let me give you a foundational programming axiom. Quality ministry with young teens always takes place at a three-way intersection. Feeling stuff, doing stuff, and saying stuff. Those are not very technical terms, but they work for me. Feeling stuff, it's really critical that your ministry with young teens creates a culture where there's a sense of belonging and safety for them. Doing stuff, particularly serving, but also the sort of doing stuff that provides a shared experience for relationships of meaning and a sense of agency that they can actually accomplish things. This is particularly important for your guys. Girls usually form friendships and process the world around them through talking, but guys usually form friendships and process the world around them through doing stuff. Most of our youth ministries focus on talking, which is great for the formation of beliefs, but if we want those beliefs to have stickiness, we need to engage them in doing stuff. Two final quick thoughts. It has to be relational. Your ministry with young teens has got to prioritize relationships. Good teaching content is not enough with young teens. We have to prioritize relationships of meaning and belonging. And really, this is just following the incarnational approach of Jesus with us. And finally, ministry with young teens should be fun. Fun is a huge value for young teens. God is the author of fun. God invented fun. God designed our bodies to be healthier when we experience joy and even humor. And when we ignore this in our ministry with young teens, we subtly teach that Christianity is out of touch with their real lives. Friends, blessings on you as we all partner together in doing work with these kids that are so special and so unique and so loved by their Creator.